I would like to thank all the ladies and gentlemen that came out for this meeting tonight and on Zoom. This is Delaware Muncie Metropolitan Planning Commission, March 4th, 2021 meeting. We was all together. We could stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you want to say the pledge, Marta?
No, when we've been doing the Zoom calls, we've not been doing that, so.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Borchers? Ms. Carey?
Present.
Mr. Dishman?
Present.
Mr. Hall? Mr. Henry? Mrs. Hensley? Mr. Landis?
Here.
Mr. Matzenbacher?
Here.
Ms. Sipe?
Here.
Mr. Stevens Hotop?
Here.
Here. Ms. Teamy?
Here.
Mr. Wisely?
Here.
Okay. Do I have approval of our January 7th meeting?
So move. Second.
Okay, it's been noted for approval and seconded. Marta, can you hold the roll call for that?
Yes. Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Landis?
Yes.
Mr. Matzenbacher?
Yes.
Ms. Sipe?
Yes.
Mr. Wisely?
Yes.
Mr. Dishman?
Yes. Okay, moving on to table business. MPC 08-19A.
Yes, and that will remain on the table. We've not received anything asking for it to be removed from the table.
Okay. New business. MPC 01-21Z.
Jurisdiction County Commissioners, being a public hearing on the matter of an application filed by Fountain Square Ministries Incorporated, 4405 South Madison Street, Muncie, Indiana, requesting a change in zone from the F farming zone to the IL limited industrial zone on premises located on the west side of the 5400 block of South Cowan Road, Muncie, Indiana, as more accurately described in the application. And then what I'm going to do, since essentially these two properties are intended to act as a unit, I'm going to read the next item on the agenda so that the comments can be heard for both cases at once rather than duplicating comments for each one of them individually. So the next case is MPC 02-21Z, Jurisdiction County Commissioners, being a public hearing on the matter of an application filed by GV Farms LLC, 1810 Fountain Lane, Pendleton, Indiana, requesting a change in zone from the F farming zone to the IL limited industrial zone on premises located at 2451 West Fuson Road, Muncie, Indiana, as more accurately described in the application. So.
Okay, is there anybody here that's representing the people that's wanting the zoning changed?
Yes. Just one at a time. Good, one at a time. Good evening. I'm Tracy Lutton. I'm representing GV Farms, owner Glenn Cleland. He is out of state where he resides most of the year, but I have been working with Mr. Cleland for many, many years, probably a decade or more, on the developability of this site and some due diligence work that we have done, and we have a very good relationship. So he's asked me to speak on his behalf tonight, though he would be available if anyone would like to speak with him directly after the meeting. So Mr. Cleland's perspective is that the zoning change would allow this property to serve its best use. It conforms to the 3 adjacent corners, though it is a lighter classification that he's requesting. Across the street is Industrial Park, and to the east is Intense Industrial. This is a step down from that. We recognize that there is an R5 zone to the west, and we are sensitive to that and sensitive to the surrounding property owners. Mr. Cleland is a former resident of Muncie. He owned a business here called Magna. He cares deeply about this community, and he wants to see economic development opportunities brought here in the form of new capital investment and job opportunities. He does not intend to personally develop this property, but he wants to make it available for development. So I have heard some concern that there could be a project brought in to Delaware County that might not be a good impact on the area or the neighborhood. And I hate to bring up rumor or innuendo. I've specifically heard a meat processing, and I will say unequivocally that is absolutely not the case. I haven't even seen a lead like that come across my desk in several years. So that is absolutely not the case. This property is included in this property is included in the Industrial Center Economic Development Plan that was created in 2008. So it has already been reviewed as an area and slated for industrial or business park use at that time. When this plan was developed, the Plan Commission at the time reviewed that and approved it as being in compliance with the Muncie Delaware County Comprehensive Plan. So this property has been looked at a number of times in the past. I think maybe that would be a good place to stop and invite Mr. Graves to come up and speak on behalf of Fountain Square, unless there are specific questions for me at this time.
Does anybody have questions for Ms. Lutton?
Okay.
Anybody or have a question? Okay, go ahead and speak.
Yes, my name is Pastor Steve Graves, and we look forward to utilizing the funds that come from the sale of this property for community ministry. That's generally what we focus on. Our ministry is to deal with Muncie and surrounding county, and it would give us a lot more resources to do so. So we're in agreement.
Pastor, would you give your address, please?
It's 4405 South Madison Street.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say your name was again?
Steve Graves.
Steve Graves.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you have any preference that you want that property for, or do you?
We've been very blessed to have farmers farm that property, but we are also very encouraged, want to see our community grow and prosper. And if businesses can come in, bring employment, then that would be, our preference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had a thing in the city one time where they were going to bring a mercury or some kind of factory that was going to pollute the air, and I don't want to see that kind of a business go in out there.
Right.
But you don't know what you're trying to sell to somebody that got a preference.
No, I was encouraged that it was going to be light industry, light industrial, and we felt comfortable with that. I feel like that the county commissioners and the experts in the county are going to make the best decision for not only the county, but also the residents. So we have a level of trust in our public officials to do the right thing.
Does anybody from the board have any questions? Mr. Graves?
I do. So what is your choice in changing this versus using other land that's already within town and zoned as such? So why would you change this one?
Well, because we own the property and we would like to utilize the funds for ministry. So if it's not sold, then we have limited resources to do what we want to accomplish. So we see this as a win-win opportunity. Apparently, people are interested in the property, and that's a good thing, because the only thing that property will be used for will be farming. And like I said, we've been very blessed to have farmers utilize that property, but it doesn't bring enough income for us to do good ministry, and this would give us that opportunity. We don't owe any other property other than the property of our church.
Right. And I understand that, but you just said that it wouldn't be used for anything other than farming. So why would you need to rezone it?
So that property can be sold so that we can use that money for ministry. And apparently it is light industry that gets the greatest interest. No farmer is asked to sell that, to buy that property from us.
I think Jesse has a question, Marta.
Just go ahead.
I just want to clarify where we're talking about here on the map. I'm looking at it. So Pastor, you own that corner section of this complete thing that we're looking at here, correct?
That is correct. 30.8 acres.
You own 30.8. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. And then the other farm that's looking at it, they're just right up above you as I'm looking at the picture here over to Fuson Road.
That is correct.
Kind of a square is what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to say on record that I'm all for the jobs and everything, but you just don't want to stick anything out there. So I'm very curious to know. I know you said light industry, but I'm very curious to know what's going to go out there.
And I respect that. I mean, I wish I knew, and I don't. But like I said, I'm going to trust our elected officials to do what's right for the community as well as for the residents. And so that's all we can do, because we have no knowledge if there is even a buyer. This is just an opportunity that the county commissioners and the powers to be can promote it.
And I understand that, sir. And I'm going to go back to Kat's inquiry. Prior to those statements, you had said that you hadn't had any offers at a farmland value, implying that you had offers for something else.
No, we have never had an offer. In fact, we never put the property up for sale until the Chamber of Commerce came to us and said, listen, we would like to like to have an option to that property so that we can try to bring in industry into Delaware County. And we said, fine. We agreed to enter into an option. And that was done many years ago. And now someone else has taken that interest. I mean, we don't want to hinder growth in the community. Plus, we love to use that money for ministries.
I just hope you don't sell to anybody.
Hey, Marta.
Yeah.
Marta.
Yes.
No, they're wanting to zone that for R5, right?
Pardon me?
They're wanting to zone that for R5.
No, to
No.
limited industrial.
Okay. Now, when you say limited industrial, what does that cartel, what kind of a businesses is that cartel to?
Well, that would include, let me find it. That includes, let's see, public utilities and private utilities. It does include farm uses, but it includes all of the uses allowed in the business zones, as well as transportation terminals, but not truck terminals. Let's see, the radio and television towers, including studios and business offices, assembly operation of pre-manufactured parts, manufacture of non-alcoholic beverages or bottling of beverages, office machinery, manufacture of portable household appliances, and let's see.
Is there anything in there about hazardous waste or anything?
No, let's see, it's got jewelry manufacturing, food processing and packaging of products previously processed elsewhere. Let's see. Manufacturing of optical goods, warehousing, upholstery shops, canning, bottling, processing of food, cabinet manufacturing, electroplating operations, manufacture of margarine products, of office equipment, malt products, and machine welding tool and die shops. In the intense industrial zone, you get into things like open hearth blast furnaces, coke ovens, creosote manufacturing, fat rendering, fertilizer manufacturing, slaughtering and food processing, manufacture of explosives, chemicals, detergents, soaps, foundries. So in intense industrial, like it says, the types of uses are a lot more intense, and limited industrial is involves lighter uses. There's still industrial, a mix of industrial uses, but they're lighter uses.
More like manufacturing jobs, something like that.
Pardon me?
More like manufacturing jobs.
They could be, yes.
A question for you, Marta.
Uh-huh.
Would this include a solar park?
It actually, it doesn't specifically mention that, but when it talks about utility operations, and we would consider solar installations to be permitted in the industrial zone, whether it's city or county.
One of the requirements for the limited industrial is that items are supposed to be, or manufacturing operations are within enclosed buildings. So if there's concern of something that's exterior, it should be everything is within an enclosed structure.
Right. That's another, thanks, Brian. That's another big difference between limited industrial and intense industrial.
Marta, is there any additional information you could share with the commission on opportunities for the future to weigh in on how the property is used, or requirements of the property?
The only mechanism that I can think of would be if the owners of the property were willing to attach commitments to the use of the property. And the commitments would be could be a part of the approval of the rezoning. And we've done that before where there are written commitments presented by the property owners saying that we will not allow XYZ. And those are like enforceable restrictions attached to the property at that point. But that would be something, typically that's something that is offered up by the property owners. Although it could be something that would be requested by the plan commission or recommended by the plan commission, and then when it gets to the county commissioner level, then they could ask that be considered and done, you know, if there was something that was of particular concern.
Is anyone else wishing to talk from the commission?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in favor of this, wants to talk?
Hi, Tracy Lutton again. I'm here with a different hat today. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for the Muncie, Delaware County Economic Development Alliance. I mentioned earlier that we've been contemplating this site for potential industrial development for many, many years, more than a decade, certainly before my time. And the reason, to address one of the earlier questions about why not just go to another site, what about the other sites in the county? We do have other industrial parks in Delaware County. This one is the most well-established. It has a robust utility infrastructure already in place. It has great location visibility on the Muncie bypass. There's a new substation that's been constructed across the street diagonally. That's an enhancement for the site. It brings more power to the overall park, and it's an attractive feature. Site selection, when companies are looking to locate in a community, it's a funnel approach, and it often starts with communities and economic development organizations from all over the United States and sometimes multiple countries and continents. What we can do to be prepared for these opportunities is to do due diligence on our sites and understand all of the aspects of the site, from the environmental aspects of it, whether there are any protected species in place, a whole myriad of criteria that we're asked to check off in order to qualify for these projects when they're at the very top of the funnel. One of the earliest qualifiers is, do you have your zoning in place? That is a very simple box that we should be able to check, and we have not been able to do that with this site. But we've done all of this work on this particular site. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars in due diligence for this site. We feel, and folks that we've worked with concur, that it is the best site and the best, most prime for development in Delaware County in an industrial setting. And we did that with the confidence that it aligns with the plan for the park. The plan specifically mentions these areas as slated for industrial development in the future, and that was reviewed and approved by the Plan Commission. And so we have a lot of opportunities that we have found for this particular property. As we get project leads and we're asked to propose sites, this is our go-to for anything that's over 100 acres. But time and time again, the stumbling block has been you don't have your zoning in place. So we have a few projects in the pipeline where we have proposed this site. None that I can say are done projects, or that I can say that getting the zoning in place qualifies us to continue to moving to the next step. So I would be happy to speak with anyone after the meeting to give you more depth of information. I'd be happy to share information on this rigorous due diligence process that we've done to designate this as a shovel-ready site. It was designated pending the zoning change, and we just never got it done. And so with that information, I would ask that you approve this change. If there are concerns about intense, heavy operations, I absolutely appreciate that. But I would remind you that that zoning is already in the park across the street. It's the highest zoning classification is right across the street. This site, we are asking for limited industrial, a much lighter manufacturing operation. Really, our end goal with all of this is to create job opportunities and bring new wealth building opportunities to our community and to increase our tax base through new capital investment. And to qualify for these projects, we really need to have a most basic thing in place, and that is our zoning. So I thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Ms. Lutton, the only thing I want to say to that is when you mentioned that there's industrial across the street.
Yeah.
We know what that is across the street. That's why the issue I can speak for myself is I'm fearing the unknown.
Yeah.
That's all.
I can appreciate that. Magna Powertrain is across the street. I don't think that's what you're referring to, though. That's a very clean operation.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We already know what's there.
Oh, I see. The known is, yeah.
Yeah. So we're okay with what's there.
Yeah.
We don't know what's coming.
Right. I can appreciate that. I don't know if it gives you any level of comfort, but the county commissioners and the County Redevelopment Commission has established a very strict environmental review process for any economic development project that they're willing to entertain in the form of incentives or required local approvals. They have an environmental review form that they make any economic development project lead fill out. And they have a professional environmental firm who reviews all of that to ensure that there is not going to be a project brought in here to Delaware County that's going to be a threat to human health. So I hope maybe that could give you some level of comfort. Myself personally, I am from Muncie. I care deeply about this community, and I would personally not want to see anything that would be detrimental to this community come here either.
Okay.
Is there anyone else want to speak in favor of this?
Thank you.
I guess I would just point out that, I mean, it is surrounded by intense industrial and the zoning. And if you're able to see some of the maps that were handed out before, it really does line up with the intended long-term plan of the space and the use. I think even the reduced request for light industry is really trying to take in consideration of the adjacent R5 zoning. So, I mean, from my perspective and my review, like, I don't see anything that's concerning on the request.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else speaking in favor? There's no, is there anyone that's against this? Come up and talk.
Okay, we'll let her go first, okay? Do I need to keep my mask on?
No, you can take it off.
I can take it off? Yeah. I just forgot to take it off.
Please state your name, yes, please.
What's your name?
I'm Jody Thomas, and this is my husband, Jerry Thomas. And my husband, Jerry, worked at GM Delco Battery for 32 years, and I was a teacher for 40 years, and 25 of which were spent as a fourth grade teacher at Cowan Elementary School. We most likely are the longest residents to live in Southwind Village, having purchased one of the first built homes in the addition 28 years ago in May. We are here to represent the residential people tonight. Our attendance here tonight is regarding our disapproval of the industrial zoning proposal, which is being sought after for farm acreage in Monroe Township near our addition and located across from already established industrial center complex. The industrial complex has been established It was established in the 1960s, and it has spent decades trying to fill all land acreage with manufacturing industries. Yet parts of the area, as well as a very nice spec building, which has already been mentioned on Fuson Road, located across from the proposed zoning area, have failed to sell and house businesses of any kind that would create more jobs for Delaware County. And we're all interested in getting more jobs for Delaware County, for sure. I have come to understand that some of the remaining lots are too small and some are not set up for utilities and other things which would be appropriate for new building use. You can see I've done my homework as a teacher. It is our opinion that there is no need for this farmland to be zoned and used for industrial purposes, and that by doing so, we risk the possibility for a loss of our addition's peaceful, quiet atmosphere for which it was intended for our community. Living across the street in South Wind Village from the Industrial Complex Center has not been without its problems, as we have had to deal with excises, factory noises, and the spewing out of unpleasant smells and dangerous gases at some times. Now, you all know about that for sure. That's certainly been in the news enough. Having factories all around our homes could possibly, and I said could possibly, devalue our properties. I hope I speak for our many residents, and if some of our residents, recognize some of our residents out here this evening, our farmland area does not need to be used for industrial purposes that are unneeded and unwanted by the community residents. Delaware County has four industrial areas that could house any number of new businesses. And like I said, some of the lots I understand, which I was told this week by someone here in the county building, that they're not all prepared to house businesses. Therefore, we again state our disapproval. My husband and I stand here together in disapproval and opinion that this is an unnecessary action at this time. Let's fill up our industrial areas that we have in place now. Let's fill them up before using up more precious farmland in Monroe Township. And I would like to state also that my husband and I are Christians, and I can appreciate the gentleman speaking for Ministries. I understand that. I just don't think this is the appropriate place to have that happen. And I certainly do understand it would be a win-win for them, but it might not be a win-win for all of us. My husband, having worked at Delco in the intense part, he certainly, and having lived across from Exide, we certainly do understand what factories can mean for the area. It's not always quiet with the factory over there at Exide. We don't want any more noise. But I do thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak this evening. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, before you leave, would you please give us your address?
Yes, ma'am. Our address, and I'm severely hearing impaired, so my husband is here to help me. He's always been here to help me, though, for 50 years. 3101 West Bon Air Avenue, Muncie, Indiana, 47302.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Jerry,
Yes,
thank you for your service.
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Thank you again.
Is anyone else here to speak against this?
I don't know that it's necessarily against it, but it just is going to come back to Kat's comments, but it looks like we have someone commenting here. So I'm going to let that go.
Okay, good evening. I'm Mike Downham. My address is 5005 South Montego Way, Muncie, Indiana, South Wind Village. And I agree with all the comments that just been made. We are opposed to this for many of the same reasons. Don't understand why we need more industrial zoning when we've got zoning across the street that can't be utilized for whatever reason. I'm a little bit confused on who's going to be selling this property. It seems like the people speaking for the owners don't have any idea who's buying it. I don't understand that. Is there? Okay. Well, I don't understand who's selling the property. And, quite honestly, we just don't have a real good track record in Delaware County. I appreciate all the comments about the environmental issues and all that. But, somebody let the ball down when they let Exxon battery factory in there. That factory is one of the very few left in the nation. Most of them have been shut down for environmental reasons. So we just simply don't need anything else like that. And I'm not confident that something like that wouldn't end up in there if it's zoned. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against this?
I think, yeah.
My name is David Smith. I live less than a mile from the proposed site. I live in Southwind Village, but I lived in the Callan area. For many years. I'm at 5113 South Jamaica Drive, Southwind Village. And I agree with everything that's been said so far. It's about the property values and not wanting another factory. We've had to deal with excise for a long time, and what he said is absolutely true. I went to a meeting at Ball State a couple years ago about all the hazard effects that place has put in the groundwater and the air, and how bad it's been for other communities. And we don't need really another factory that close to us. The only thing that I haven't heard mentioned is, from my take, a lot of people that come into Muncie, the bypass, both directions, that's their first encounter, their first impression of Muncie, is all that beautiful farm ground, the trees. And I would hate to see that paved over, and when it is, it's there forever. That's a beautiful farm there, and it could be really developed in years to come with, rolling hills and trees and all kinds of plants. And that's the last. If you think about it, that's the last entrance that I know of into Muncie that's like that. They're all developed, and they've got, buildings, most of them ugly buildings, billboards, and just, bad construction. And so, I had one or two questions. Have you had much feedback from the community about this project? A lot of people didn't know about it, I think. So
I haven't heard any. This is the first I've heard about it tonight.
Yeah. And I had one question for her. Do you have anyone that is interested in buying this? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, sure. If you have questions, you could ask the questions of the board, and then we'll give an opportunity for the applicants to come back up and answer questions.
The only other thing I want to say is yesterday I saw guys out drilling core samples in the field, and that really made me wonder. And they've been surveying it for several days. And I went and talked to a guy that lives right up by the bypass, and he told me something very interesting. He had talked to, when they started putting in all those power line poles on both sides of the bypass, he stopped there and asked the guy, he said, "What's with all these poles? Why are you putting all this stuff in here?" And he said, "Well, the ones going north are going to supplement the new jail there at Wilson." He said, "Well, what about the other ones?" And he said, "You don't want to know." And he wouldn't tell him. So there's something, I think, in the works that we're not being told about. And I've heard a rumor from someone else that there's somebody who really wanted to build there, and it'll probably be kept hid till it's too late. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wanting to talk on?
Hi, my name is Kelly Christie. I live at 5121 South Jamaica Way, Muncie, Indiana 47302. My question is we were instructed that we could call in the residents that were unable to attend this evening. We could call in with questions and or comments. Who has those calls, I guess? Because I know that there's lots of people that could not make it tonight.
I have that list, and when we're done with the people in the room there speaking, then I will go through the other materials that we've received.
Okay. And while I'm here, I would just like to reiterate everything that has been said. I'm kind of a new resident in Southwind Village. I've been there less than 5 years. One of the reasons I chose Southwind Village was the nice, scenic, quiet area, but knowingly, we are across the street from an industrial site. And I'm aware that we have a shell building that has been built and waiting for a resident for quite a while. I would like to see that sold and or used prior to establishing more industrial ground.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against this tonight?
Hello, my name is Alice Lancaster. I live at 3012 West Bon Air, Muncie, 47302. My comment is simply, there are so many blighted areas around the Muncie area that were previously industrial. Why are those not being looked at? I'm sure they have the power there. And I think I agree with my rural residents that with Exide, we've had enough on our side of town. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against this tonight?
Good evening, folks. My name is Brad Welsh, and I'm also at 5121 South Jamaica Drive and have been a new resident and am Kelly Christie's other half. I left Muncie 30 years ago and have just come back this past year, was a business owner here, as well as Kelly. I have seen very little change in 30 years in Muncie, especially in that area. And the neighborhood is a beautiful neighborhood. I came from Hamilton County. Everybody knows what Hamilton County is all about. I come back up to Muncie to start a life with Kelly and see this beautiful neighborhood and the residents that have lived there. And I don't mean any disrespect with this, but many of them are elderly or aging. And as those homes turn over, there's younger families coming in, which is what Muncie wants. Attract those younger families in. Travis down the street, who I'm sure we'll hear from. Good, hardworking people that will make their next home there. So there's an industrial park that's been sitting empty for 30 years. I worked at UPS while I was at Ball State. That place has not changed at all. I respect the pastor's need for ministry money. Been in ministry for 23 years. There's many other revenue streams for him, and I'd be happy to talk to him about that. I understand the sale of a piece of property is an easy, quick fix for ministry money, but I don't think that this piece of property is that. And I appreciate the commissioner's time and thoughts on this. Some of you are sitting at home tonight, and I would like you to think about if your young children were having a factory, we don't know what it's going to be. It could be a meat processing plant or another, Exide built. Think about that being built, and some of you sitting in your home right now. So this piece of property is not going to change Delaware County and bring all the jobs that we need right now to fix all this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak against this tonight?
Can I answer questions or do I need to wait? Okay.
Mr. Dishman, there's no one else to speak in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the commission want to speak against this? Ms. Ludden, would you like to come up with a few questions for us then?
Yeah, I was trying to take notes. My pen ran out, so I hope that I've captured your comments and your questions. And Exide came up a number of times. from multiple people. And I want to reiterate that this zoning classification would not allow a battery smelting operation. It would not allow a meat processing project. We are asking for limited industrial. The heavy or the industrial would allow for those operations. I would hope that Delaware County would exercise some scrutiny, but this particular site is limited industrial. That is all that we're asking. A question came up about why not the other sites? There are other industrial parks in the county. Why this one? Well, maybe I could just give a little insight into some of the unique challenges with those. We have the Ag Park that was created in the Eaton area for a ethanol plant 10, 15 years ago. I'm sure Marta remembers that. That project never went anywhere. So that park exists, but there's not any utility infrastructure there. It is really not prepared for development in any way. We could see ag development out there in the future, but that's not the reality of where we are for a manufacturing operation. We have Park 1. That's a very nice high-end park. We don't have available property out there. We don't have willing sellers. We have a significant tract south of the park. Again, no utility infrastructure there. We're trying to focus on areas where we've already invested money in utilities. And then we have the Air Park, which is in the city of Muncie. Again, that park is full. It's a series of really small sites, maybe 5 or 10 acres, not suitable for the type of development that we're talking about for this one. So it was mentioned a couple of times that the park really hasn't changed much, but I would like to remind folks that we have Magna Powertrain has 2 plants there, and that's occurred in the last 15, 16 years. I think they came around 2005. Huge investments. Magna has invested well over $100 million, well over. Progress Rail, they occupied a former Westinghouse plant. That's a significant investment. Again, well over $100 million, providing job opportunities for people in our community. The county commissioners and the redevelopment commission not long ago announced the Inox project that's going in the industrial center. We had a new building supply company built there in the last 2 or 3 years. It is true that the Shell building across the street from this site remains empty at this time, but it is the 9th Shell building that this community has constructed. We know it's a high risk, high reward situation. That Shell building actually brings a lot of leads to this community that look at this site across the street. Not every company needs a 200,000 square foot building. They want a site where they can build. So as far as the industrial center goes, the area that we're really focused on here, it is true that there are some sites remaining, but not many. I think there's a 15 acre, a 30 acre, an 11 acre, an 80 acre, and a 97. The 97 acre site is the former Delco battery. You might imagine why that might not be the most attractive first option for a company. The 80 acre site, it's a great site, and we market that one heavily, just as we do this 139 acres, but a lot of projects want 100 or more acres. Let's see. The substation has been planned for, gosh, I think about 8 years. It has been slated for Muncie well before the Shell building was ever built. I remember the original Shell building marketing materials had a little map that said future substation. There is nothing nefarious going on there, that the station was built for some, for a scary user. I think the AEP would be glad to confirm those details, that's just an infrastructure, part of their overall infrastructure investment that they had planned for the long term. Are there interested buyers? I have had many interested buyers looking at this property. That's why we secured options many years ago, the chamber. When we're working with these prospects, almost always we have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, a confidentiality agreement, because there are so many factors that create sensitivity with site location projects. They might be a publicly traded company. It could cause word getting out, could cause alerting their competition, or it could cause strife with key employees or their unions. And so if we don't maintain the highest level of confidentiality with them, we will be eliminated. So I can say that this site, I have probably proposed this site for projects, I bet 30 times since January 2022. I tried to pull some stats together for you, but it is of high interest. It is the largest tract of land that we have in the park that we think is great for development. All of the infrastructure is there. It checks all of the boxes except for the zoning. So I hope that I've appropriately answered the questions. Again, I will give my card to anybody who'd like to talk to me later, and I welcome any feedback that you have too.
Ms. Lutton, I would like to say the residents basically said they weren't even aware about what's going on about this. And with them being that close to that area, don't you think they have a right to know what's coming or what could possibly be there? And don't you think you being an economic development director, you should have reached out to at least the neighborhood and said something about it?
But I don't have a project to announce today. I can say that I'm working with on different projects. I have multiple projects looking at the Shell building right now. We have multiple projects looking at the 80 acres down the street. That's just how this works. There's they might start with 50 sites and they narrowed it to 10 and then 5. And we're always in these varying stages, but I don't have a project to announce today.
I understand that. I just feel like when you got residents that live right there, they should be kept in the loop. And I'm just saying fairly, they should be kept in the loop. That's just how I feel.
Marta, correct that one of the requirements for both of these applications was that every property owner within 300 feet was notified, correct?
300 feet or 2 properties deep, whichever is a greater distance. And
Okay.
yes, that is always.
Okay, so everyone around was notified
Right.
in the immediate vicinity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Vice President, I still need to let you know about the phone calls that we've received in the office. So if you don't have any more questions for Ms. Lutton, I can go through that list and some of the comments that we had received.
Okay, that's fine, Marta.
Okay. So we received calls from 22 households and some individuals and some couples. And 14 of those were from Southwind Village and 7 were from Breezewood, which is the area on West. And then 1 was from Parkshire Place, which is also an area further to the west. And for those people who did leave comments, one was they don't want a food processing plant. Another was they don't want livestock there. Another one mentioned that she has health issues and she doesn't want more pollution. Another comment was that they have enough in the area. And a final comment was that they should fix the roads instead. So those were the comments that were received. We also did receive 2 letters of opposition. One is from Marveline Garrett at 5911 South Cowan Road. And she states that she's lived there for 31 plus years and that she's opposed. She lives across from the proposed rezoning. And she enjoys sitting on her porch and watching the deer and the animals and the birds, and that she enjoys the beauty. And building a factory across the street from me will destroy this. And the noise we hear from the factory is located on the north side of Fusen already interferes with this. She also then cites traffic on Cowan already being heavy, and that she fears for the safety of the young people with the added traffic generator on this site. And she basically ends with saying that our business of 65 plus years, Garrett Auto Sales, is located on Cowan Road. I know our city and our community need to grow and we need jobs. However, this need should be balanced with the need for clean, accessible farmland. The traffic, air pollution, and the potential groundwater pollution will have a negative impact on our neighborhood. Additionally, we have a factory located across the street, will decrease the value of our home and land. She's very concerned, and she does welcome new business. She thinks that there are other locations for new business. And she thanks you for your time. The next letter is from Pamela and Gary Porter, and they live at 6121 South Cowan Road, and their land and home are located across the bypass on Cowan Road from the land that is being considered. And the purpose of her contact is to contest the rezoning of the farmland, and that she opposes it for the following issues: noise pollution, traffic control issues, contamination, property values, loss of personal enjoyment, and loss of farmland. And then she ends with another point is there are areas that are already zoned for industry available. There is a beautiful new building that has sat empty for years located on Fusen Road, along with land currently zoned for business. And they respectfully oppose the rezoning. We strongly feel that this will have a very negative impact on our home, our lives, and our well-being. And then she thanks you for your consideration of their concerns and asks for the denial of the request for the rezoning.
Is that all you have, Marta?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else want to talk about anything pertaining to this before we move for a vote?
Slightly, yes. So again, oh, do you have something?
Sorry, Lauren. There is one person in the audience who wants to know if they could ask the board a quick question. I don't know if we have time for one more question, or if we're
Yeah,
past.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Again, Kelly Christie. This might be a crazy question, but if Miss Lutton has so many potential buyers and they're looking at light industrial zoning opportunities, what is the possibility of rezoning some of the industrial park from heavy industrial to light to attract some of the potential customers she has on the books? I think that would be a win-win for everyone. It keeps them across the side of the road where it's in the industrial park. There's utilities there, and it keeps our residents on this side of the road, you know, living like we knew when we lived there that we were just going to be in a residential area with industry across the street. Just an idea. Don't know if it's possible. Also, what is the protocol? Marta, you mentioned real quick how we were informed, or how we were supposed to be informed or can be informed. Nobody lives, that I'm aware of, nobody lives within 300 feet or 2 building lots or whatever. If it was not for one of our residents that somehow, some way heard about this, we would not have been informed whatsoever.
There were 2, I remember specifically, there were 2 houses in Southwind Village that met that criteria for notification.
Okay. And that must have been one of our residents that told us all about that.
Could be.
I don't know. And another thing that's really kind of unique about our neighborhood out there that nobody's mentioned is we have multi-generational families that live out there. I know myself, my parents live out there. And there's probably 3 or 4 other families like that where aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, moms, dads, we've all kind of created a community out there where it's great. It's quiet. So I'd like to take that into consideration as you're thinking about putting another industrial opportunity next door to us when it could be very easily across the street? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Marta, do we have any, but want to make a motion to approve this MPC 01-21Z and the other one also?
We'll vote separately though, Jerry. I think we should vote separately.
Okay, that's fine. They both got the same number. Well, one's got a 1 and a 2. I'm sorry. Okay. Do we have a motion for the MPC 01-21Z?
Motion to deny, Jerry.
Second.
A motion to deny and second. Roll call, please, Marta.
Ms. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Landis,
Yes.
Mr. Matzenbacher,
Yes.
Ms. Sipe,
No.
Mr. Wisely,
No.
Mr. Dishman.
No.
Okay, that is 3 yeses and 3 nos, and that is not official action. It requires 5 votes, either for or against, for official action. When official action is not attained, then the case gets automatically continued to the next regular Plan Commission meeting, and that would be for the April 1st Plan Commission meeting. That would begin at 6 o'clock as well, and there would be no new notice of the case. So the people that are there would need to take note that this would be on the agenda and reheard at the April 1st Plan Commission meeting.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve or disapprove MPC -02-21Z.
Move to deny.
And I second that deny.
Okay. And a motion to deny in 1 second. Roll call, please, Marta.
Mr. Landis,
I'm voting, let's see, let me get this straight. I'm in favor of it, yes.
you're in favor of the denial, correct?
Yes, correct.
Mr. Matzenbacher,
Yes.
Ms. Sipe,
No.
Mr. Wisely,
No.
Ms. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Dishman.
No.
Okay, so that is also 3 yes, 3 no, with 3 absent, and that is not official action. This case will also be automatically continued to the April 1st regular monthly meeting of the Plan Commission that will begin at 6 p.m. And once again, no new notice will be sent out to the property owners. So you need to take note of the date and time for that rehearing.
Thank you, Marta.
Uh-huh.
Moving on to other business, MPC 02-21A.
Yes, this is, for those of you who have been on the commission for a while, you know that this case is what we do on an annual basis, where every year the official zone map changes for the previous year are presented for confirmation that those are the correct changes. And once the Plan Commission takes their action, then I file it so that City Council can take the similar action in endorsing. And in 2020, it was a slow year as far as rezonings were concerned. There was one in the city, and that was attached to the resolution of approval. And, whoops, that's the county one. And that was that was the rezoning in the Old West End on Elliott and First Street for a change to the industrial zone. And so that was the only ones. That's basically in front of you for your approval of that resolution, that it is accurately reflecting the rezonings adopted in 2020.
Do we have any discussion on that, Marta? Do we have any discussion for this, Marta?
Oh, only if the other plan commission members have something they want to say.
Okay. Has any of the other planning commission members got anything to say?
Or a motion to approve.
Okay, we need a motion to approve.
Motion
So
to
moved.
second.
Yeah, I think that was Jesse. I'm giving that to Jesse, and then Alan, you want to be the second?
Sure, second.
There's been a motion to approve in a second. Roll call, please, Marta.
Yes. Mr. Matzenbacher,
Yes.
Ms. Sipe,
Yes.
Mr. Wisely,
Yes.
Ms. Carey,
Yes.
and Mr. Dishman.
Yes.
You missed me,
Mr.
Marta.
Landis.
Yes. Yes.
I knew I forgot somebody.
Jesse, we can't forget you.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Okay.
Moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
MBE 03-21A.
Yes, and this is the exact same situation for the county. There again, in 2020, we only had one rezoning, and that was as shown in the attachment to the resolution. And that will be forwarded to the county commissioners for their confirmation as well, once the plan commission has voted on your confirmation.
Do we have any of the commission members wanting to comment on this? I move for a motion for a favorable recommendation, excuse me, approval.
So moved.
Got it.
Second.
There's been a motion to approve in a second. Roll call, please, Marta.
Yes. Ms. Sipe,
Yes.
Mr. Wisely,
Yes.
Ms. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Landis,
Yes.
Mr. Matzenbacher,
Yes.
Mr. Dishman.
Yes.
That is 6 yes, 0 no, with 3 absent, and that is approval of the county zone map changes for 2020.
We're going to move on to legislative action.
Yes, for okay, for legislative action, there was some I'm looking at the what we've got here, and I think it's a result of some things that we hadn't reported on earlier, but with the county commissioner rezonings for the estate of William and Mary Harmon, that was approved by the commissioners last year, but I don't think we reported on it. And then there was a special use for an accessory dwelling that was approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals for Renee Church. And then there was another special use for a one-chair beauty salon. And that was also approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. That was the one where the commission discussed changing the location of the sign. If you recall, you talked about where it could go on the front of the garage. And so the Board of Zoning Appeals approved that request and took the Plan Commission's recommendation and made it a condition of their approval for that case. So, okay.
Now we have a report from our director.
Yes, now, I'm going to try to share my screen. Whoops, I did that wrong. So this is the kind of thing where I would have handed this out, but can you see this? It's a memorandum.
Yeah.
Okay, this relates to our big planning project for a new comprehensive plan and new strategic plan for the city of Muncie. And the Office of Community Development had received HUD dollars that deal with the impacts of COVID-19. And so they need, though, the Office of Community Development needs a paperwork trail for them to transfer those funds. And so this is a memorandum between the Plan Commission, Muncie Action Plan, and the Office of Community Development, because the Office of Community Development earmarked $25,000 to the Muncie Action Plan for this planning activity. And so since the Plan Commission is the one that entered into the contract with the consultant, this is a memorandum that basically says that the parties enter into this agreement where the Plan Commission shall be responsible for project management services and payment of invoices, and they will coordinate and collect local match dollars. And the city, meaning the Office of Community Development, will provide the Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 funds allocated to MAP. They will forward those to MAP upon receipt of an invoice, and then MAP will sign this. Actually, MAP approved it yesterday evening at their board meeting. They agree to pass the funds through back to the Plan Commission upon me sending them an invoice for $25,000. And so this is a huge contribution. We really appreciate the foresight of Gretchen Cheeseman at Community Development in thinking of this project and how it could help in the use of these funds. And so what I need from the commission is a motion, and I'll answer any questions you've got, but a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the pass-through of local match dollars.
Also move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, let me stop the share so I can see you guys again. So was that Judd and?
Yes.
And who seconded?
I did.
Thank you. Okay.
Your roll call, Mark, please.
Thank you. Let's see, where was I? Mr. Wisely?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Landis?
Yes.
Mr. Matzenbacher?
Yes.
Ms. Sipe?
Yes.
And Mr. Dishman?
Yes.
Very good. That is 6 yes and 0 no and 3 absent, and that is approval of the memorandum of understanding. And that, I've also worked on obtaining the other 25,000 in our match dollars, as well as the 80% of the funding for the majority of the project costs. So one thing I also wanted to let you know, and I can forward this out to you all in an email, but that we have a website that went live on Monday, and it is called togetherdm.org, and that is the official website for our planning project, and we will, there's already a whole lot of information in there, and we will be adding information to it. On that website now is a link where you can take a survey, and it will be open all throughout the month of March. And that is just one piece of the public input that will be sought as we move through this planning process for the new comp plan and the new strategic plan for Muncie. So I would urge you all to check that out and take the survey. The survey at the end of it's sort of fun because it tells you you've got $10 million, and then you can choose where you want to allocate those $10 million. And that will help indicate what different people consider their priorities. So it's sort of like that exercise we did at the interview, remember?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Gotcha.
Yes, and I'll say I've already gone on and done that survey. It's probably took me 20 to 30 minutes. It's not super time consuming. It's super user friendly.
okay.
But I did struggle though with the exercise with the $10 million because you can only allocate full $1 million. You can't allocate like $500,000 or $250,000.
I know.
And so I don't think there's enough money for every one of them to get money. So some people just get zero money, and it's like,
Yeah.
well. So that was interesting because I had it worked out, and then I went to submit it, and they said they have to be whole amounts.
Yeah, I know. And they do that on purpose because then it makes you have to make those hard choices.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it's an interesting exercise. So anyway, that things are moving along, and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but it's been not a super long night, but it's been sort of a long night. So I'll say I'm done.
Do we have any other comments for anybody tonight?
I make a motion to adjourn.
That's the comment I was looking for.
Second.
Roll call, please, Marta.
How about a voice vote?
Here we
Everybody who wants to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.